The time is now 6 o'clock, and the Kingsport City Schools Board of Education regular business meeting for July 14th, 2026 is now called to order. Dr. True?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to introduce our special guest?
I would love to introduce our special guest, and to everyone that's in the room tonight, I want to thank you for joining us, or if you're watching online, we appreciate you being with us. I'm going to invite a very special guest. I'm going to invite Calliope Barrett to come join me. We were talking earlier, in all the years we've done this, no one has ever brought their own flags. You were the only one that ever did. So thumbs up to you for coming prepared. And you are a familiar face around here. I think people know you. Why do people know you here in our office?
Because I come here sometimes.
Why do you come here?
I don't know.
You don't know? Does your mama maybe work here? Yes, exactly. And you are having a very exciting summer because something is going to happen next fall. You are going to Kennedy, and what grade are you going to be in?
Second.
Second grade. So how are you spending this summer before your second grade year? What have you been doing this summer while school's out?
I got my own pool, and I've been swimming in it.
Are you a little fish? Do you like to swim?
Yes.
Yes. So what excites you? What are you looking forward to about coming back to school? Or are you? Are you excited about coming to school?
Yes.
What is it that makes you excited about coming to second grade?
That I have a new teacher.
It's always an exciting time. Well, thank you for sharing your evening with us and bringing your bright smile and your flags. And we're going to ask everyone if you would please stand. And I will hold the microphone whenever you're ready to say the pledge, okay?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Calliope. At this time, I will ask for a motion to accept the agenda, which also includes the consent agenda. Once the agenda has been accepted, the board mutually agrees not to discuss any item of business not related to the agenda. Once the agenda has been accepted, the board mutually agrees not to discuss any item of business or take any action that has not been accepted for the agenda. Is there a motion to accept?
Motion. Second.
Stand in front of us. Let us recognize you. All right. You can face this way. Yeah, there you go. Face the audience. Everybody here is recognized. We're going to recognize you. At this time, the Board of Education would like to recognize Mr. Emery Corpstein, a recent graduate of Dobyns-Bennett High School who won the 2026 TSSAA Class AA Boys Tennis Singles State Tournament Championship in Chattanooga on May the 15th. He became the first Dobyns-Bennett boys tennis player to win a state championship in 21 years and the first Indians player to win a boys single title. Congratulations.
While they make their ways back to the audience, I also want to acknowledge Emery's coaches who are in the audience, Coaches Reedy Tony and Kaylin Tony. This is especially meaningful because Coach Tony has recently announced his retirement from the coaching ranks, and he has has been a legendary coach, not only for Dobyns-Bennett, but a few other teams we won't mention, but most notably for Dobyns-Bennett. And very proud of the commitment that both have made to our school system, and wish them both the very best as they pursue future endeavors. And the same to you, Emery. Congratulations.
Now is the time for members of the audience to address the board as a whole. According to Board Policy 1.404, if registered prior to 6 p.m., we ask that you state your name and address and limit your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Speakers may address the board regarding topics germane to the process and/or function of Kingsport City Schools with an aggregate public comment period not to exceed 30 minutes, unless the board waives this limit upon consideration of a request for an extension made prior to the President's announcement for public input. Profane and/or threatening language will not be allowed, and this is not the time to discuss personal or personnel matters, as there are more appropriate ways to discuss these issues. In your comments, you may not reveal any confidential student or staff information or refer to any student by name without permission from the parent or guardian. All comments are and will remain a matter of public record. Nobody signed in? Okay.
Derek Browder, Linview Pee Wee Football League. Most of y'all already have figured out who I am through the Lynn Garden Elementary School project that we are considering. Today on business item 5.10, it says approval to enter into contract with Thompson & Litton. Only question, what my question is have we approved a design, and is it the one that has the football field to continue a program that has been going since 1969? That is all I have to say. I would like to answer, though.
We'll be discussing that item of business during. We won't interact at this time. Okay? All right. Mr. Fry? Hello, Mr. Fry.
Good evening. Have 2 or 3 items for your consideration this evening. The first one is consideration of a budget amendment, the second budget amendment to the FY27 budget. There are 3 items on this affecting our general purpose budget. The first one has to do with some revenue. So about 2 weeks ago, we got a notice from the state that we had qualified in FY26 for some growth funds. This was pretty much a surprise to me, and I think to Dr. Hampton as well. How this is calculated, well, first of all, the state budget's $60 million in growth funds for schools that are experiencing growth. And they, when you have that growth at the end of the year, if they recognize it during the year, they send you money during the year, but ours came at the end of the year. So they look at the numbers that are the end of the year numbers for our enrollment in 26, which is what they use for the 27 allocation, and compare that to what the original allocation was for the TSSAA money for 26, and then use the factors in the formula. The thing that got us the significant amount of growth money was the way that we changed our calculation for the concentrated poverty number in our federal programs, going from just the free and reduced numbers that we look at to using the 1.6 multiplier that you're allowed to use. And by doing that, qualified qualify, sorry, thank you, for the concentrated poverty figures. So that was a big thing, and I've told you this before, that caused quite a bit of an increase in our TSSAA allocation for FY27 also, which were both very positive for this year. We won't experience those growth numbers again. We won't lose the amount of money that we're getting, but we won't experience that increase again. But when you take all those considerations, our growth was 1.56%. Now, our actual student enrollment numbers went up very small, but this 1.6 multiplier caused a significant amount of growth. Bottom line is we qualified for just a little bit over $764,000 worth of growth funds. So those monies, I'm not sure if they've actually come in yet, but they are FY26 monies. They will be recorded on the books in June. As of June, we'll have to accrue the money back to 26. And when we close the year out, those monies will close into our fund balance. So in order to use them going forward, we need to appropriate the monies out of our fund balance. But that's sort of a formality type thing. So we have identified in the Dobyns-Bennett renovation project and in the Lynn Garden project where these monies, we would like to spend them and we need to spend them. There's a couple of items in the Dobyns-Bennett project a couple of alternates that we didn't approve. We wanted to approve them, but they were alternates because we wanted to make sure we were within budget. And without any additional monies, we weren't within budget, so we didn't initially approve those. The Lynn Garden project, at this time, we need to appropriate those monies in order to have enough funding moving forward through the next phase of the project. I'll go into a little bit more detail about the specifics of those in just a second. But we're recommending right now that we do appropriate $700,000 out of our fund balance and transfer those funds to the $270,000 to the Lynn Garden project and $430,000 to the Dobyns-Bennett project. So that's the first item. The second item is, and you've seen this a number of times, is we've been receiving $4,500 donations, one or two at a time, for the past 2 or 3 years for reset rooms for our schools. And these are rooms that are provided for a stress relief situation and type thing for students and staff. Ballot has come to us and said, hey, we want to put these rooms in all of your schools. So there are 7 schools, including Dobyns-Bennett DB Excel, that we don't have these in right now. So they've said, we'll give you $4,500 for each of those 7 locations, for a total of $31,500. So this budget amendment is increasing our estimated revenue by the $31,500 and our non-instructional equipment accounts by $31,500 in order to outfit these rooms. The third item in here in our general purpose budget, there was a little bit of a miscommunication. This is sort of a housekeeping item, but there's sort of a little miscommunication between myself and the city when we were going through and talking about some additional TSSAA money that was coming in. I was going to have you all approve a revised FY27 budget instead of doing a budget amendment. And we were going to change the budget ordinance that the city had for their 27 budget on their second reading. We had decided not to do that, so I brought you budget amendment number 1 to appropriate appropriate an additional $200,000. The city, in the meantime, I had provided them with a revised ordinance, and they presented that ordinance to the BMA, and the BMA approved it, and so that is the approved budget So their actual approved budget for FY27 at this current time is $44,400 more than what ours is. I was going to use that additional money. I was going to put that into a transportation line item for the software that you all approved the purchase of. So recommending that we increase our estimated revenue for TSSAA revenue for the $44,400 and increase our transportation budget by the $44,400. So then on to the projects. For the Lynn Garden project, I've kind of given you a little summary of what monies are in that project and the expenses that we have or are anticipating incurring in the immediate future. So right now there's $4,619,798 of school fund monies that the Board of Education has allocated into that project. We did you closed some projects out and put some funds in there. There were some monies transferred from where we had overfunded the Washington HVAC project, and then the city came back and sold bonds and put in the Washington HVAC project. So that's where the $4.6 million of school monies have come from. The city also sold $2.6 million worth of bonds that have gone into that project. So there's a total of $7,219,798 currently in the project. And you can see the expenses I have outlined there. We've already incurred a little over $912,000 worth of architect fees. Having an item on this agenda to approve the final phase of the architect agreement, which will take us through the final design phase and all the way through the construction phase of the project of $2,265,000. With a project of this size, the state fire marshal fee that we have to pay the state fire marshal's office to review our plans is a significant amount of money, $50,000. Yes. And then we have out to bid right now, and matter of fact, we had a pre-bid conference or meeting this afternoon at the Lynn Garden Community Center site. With that, the demolition for the building and the site work is estimated at $4 million. And a 6% contingency on that is $240,000. And then I always like to have a little bit of just some miscellaneous monies in there for some items that just may come up, and I've got $21,531, which leaves us $270,000 short of where we need to be. So therefore, the $270,000 I'm requesting to put into the Lynn Garden project. The Dobyns-Bennett project, there were a number of alternates on this project that we intentionally did as alternates because we were worried that the amount of money that we had in the project, that there just we didn't have enough funding available at that time. Three of the items were the renovation of the old office area, the area that you went into before the Science and Technology was built. That was an alternate that had a $236,000 bid on it from the low bidder. The fire shutter replacements on actually the second floor of the Science and Technology building and the third floor of the Science and Technology building, the main entrance there, that when there's a fire alarm, those doors come down and they shut off and separate the two buildings. Those will be, this alternate is to remove those fire shutters and replace them with a glass front door that you would pull open, and that's fire rated. The doors are fire rated, and the glass is glazed, fire rated. So that's $160,000. And then there's some IT wiring for the new classrooms in the annex pod. That is got a price tag of $106,000. We weren't going to do these. We were probably going to do the IT wiring. We were going to put the other ones on hold and come back and do those at a later date, when and if money became available. But this money became available, and we just see this as an opportunity to to pretty much kind of check the box of this will pretty much take care of DB. Now, we still have some stadium work that needs to be done there, but for the building and where the students are, this pretty much takes care of it. So that's a total of $502,000 with a $30,120 contingency. And then I've still left enough money in the project, about $40,000 or $50,000, to do some work that we'll do outside of the contract, and we're getting some quotes on that now to go in and replace the clocks that were located throughout the building. Pretty significant price tag that on those, which should be less than $50,000, but these are clocks that are all synced together and they're all tied together, and but we feel that that's necessary. We have $152,000 in the project right now. The total on all these is a little over $582,000, which means we need the additional $430,000 going into this project. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, but I'd recommend approval of this budget amendment.
I have a couple.
Sure.
I'm just trying to visualize those doors, the fire. If I remember correctly, this was kind of almost like a safety issue, is it not? Because
Could be.
if it goes off, they start coming down, you better get out of the way.
They
kind of
really
thing.
fall down.
Okay. So the doors that are going to be in there now, will they have to be open every time a student goes through?
No, they'll be open. I mean, the doors, the fire doors, typically they have magnetic, they're open magnetically. And when a fire alarm goes off, those magnets release and the doors close. And so that prevents the fire separation. So generally, the doors will be open.
So they will stay like this, and then if
Yeah.
the fire alarm, they'll
They'll close. Yeah.
Okay. And they
just-
probably won't make that noise, but
No, probably not.
can you just, I know this is, it's germane, I guess. Can you give us a little update on the progress at Dobyns-Bennett? I can't believe we're going to be back in school in less than a month. And so,
Well, I'll give you an update, and I know Dr. True and Dr. Hampton can too, but it's phenomenal. I mean, the English pod, the math pod, and they were done in this order, the math pod, the social studies pod, and the art wing are done.
Okay.
I mean, the flooring has been pulled up, the lockers have been removed, the new flooring has gone down, the classrooms have been painted. I believe David Sewell was starting to move furniture back into the social studies pod this week. This furniture's already been moved back into English and math. The countertops that were going in where some of the lockers were, I think they're kind of standing height countertops. Those have not been installed yet, but we were in a meeting yesterday afternoon, and the materials are on site now, so those will be going in the next little bit. The carpet is down on the ramps. The work that was needed to be completed before teachers came back is going to be completed before teachers come back.
wonderful.
And then we're a little bit ahead of schedule, and then they'll move into the annex pod, and that pod will be closed off to students for the fall semester, and those classrooms will be renovated and should be ready to go by the start of the second semester. So, and while we're talking about schedule, the Washington HVAC project is on schedule, should be completed. The Robinson Fire Alarm project is on schedule. There's a couple of little fire inspection issues that we're taking care of, but all three of those projects have gone really great this summer.
Thank you, Mr. Fry. Todd?
Are we not exempt from the fire marshal?
Nope.
What's he doing?
It's a plan review fee where they review the plans to make sure it meets all the fire code requirements.
We're just moving dirt. They gotta
No,
review.
no. This is for the design of the building.
Oh, okay. I'm
This is
sorry.
for the design
I
of
thought
the
this was
building.
demolition site
No,
work,
no, no,
$50,000
no.
fee.
No,
Okay.
this is a fee that we will probably have to pay next spring.
Okay, I got you.
While the designs of the building are, I believe we have a no review letter on this phase of the project.
Okay.
Because we're tearing the building down and moving dirt.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay, the recommended action is to approve budget amendment number 2 as presented. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
So the second item I have for you is the approval of the Phase 3 contract.
Okay, if you don't mind, if it's okay with
Sure.
the board, Mr. Alderson, could you join
Okay,
Dr.
yeah.
True up here in case
Are we
there's?
good? Did we vote?
We got to wait for the finished vote.
Oh,
Okay.
motion carries.
I'm just,
Yeah, just in case, just to provide clarity
Sure.
about what exactly this agreement, Phase 3, any details or anything. Is that okay with you?
Sure, yeah. So, of course, Dr. Tribb, Mr. Brian Alderson is the principal architect with Thompson Litton on this project that we've been working with for, gosh, well, it seems like we've been working on a lot of projects for a long time, but on this one for a couple of years.
My wife actually made a comment the other day that I need to have an office over here, so, yes. Yes.
What we have for you this evening is the third and final contract for this Lynn Garden project. This is the Phase 3 of this project. The first one was to work through the schematic designs for the building and the location. The second phase was the design of design of the demolition, but for the scope out the demolition and doing the site work, the road development for the project, which that's what's out to bid right now. And so we'll be bringing back for approval for a bid on that, hopefully at your August meeting with construction with that work to begin 1st of September. What we have for you this evening is the approval of the third and final phase of the project, and this will be to do the detailed design work for the building itself, and going through the bidding phase, putting it out to bid, and doing the project administration through the construction of the building to open in August of '29. So just a little bit on the timing of this. The demolition is scheduled to start the 1st of September to be complete about this time next summer, by the end of July next summer. Their work as far as the design work and putting this out to bid should be complete in June of '27 and out to bid in June of '27. We'll open bids in late July of '27 and bring back to this board and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen the recommended bid approval for construction of the school in August of '27, starting work in September with completion being in May of '29, 21 months later, with school to open in August of '29. The total fee for this phase of the project, including some additional services and reimbursables, is $2,265,000. So I will just open it up to the board to ask any questions of Dr. True and Mr. Alderson for any clarification that you need.
Is part of this, I don't mean to sound, do you design the road also, or we just,
When you say
just
the-
The entire.
the Mullins Street, the redoing of Mullins Street, does this include any of that?
So what is currently out for bid, as David Fry just noted, the Nelms Lane extension that goes up to Mullins Street, the reconstruction of work as part of Mullins Street, and the reconstruction work at Frank Street is part of this package that is currently out to bid. Okay. So that new road will be completed here in the next year before construction starts on the rest of the project. So as you all are aware, a portion of Walker Street will be basically closed in order to allow for the new school to be built. So we are going ahead and building the new extension of Nelms Lane up to Mullen Street to make sure we don't have any issues with traffic going from east to west or west to east.
Understood. Okay.
And that allows then for pickup, drop off, all that kind of traffic to be out of the, to be contained on campus. Is that
Yes,
correct?
as part of this phase that, as I said a minute ago, the new extension that goes up to Mullen Street will be 3 lanes. One is for, going up the hill, one going down the hill, and the third is the stacking lane that we've talked about. And that will extend all the way down Mullen Street, down Frank Street, and then onto the school property proper.
Really a lot of consideration to the length of stacking that we needed and wanted to have, and providing not only a more significant thoroughfare because of the disruption to Walker Street that will be as part of the design, wanting to get that done before we interrupted that Walker Street east-west, but also that there would be that third lane on the public streets, everybody turning right as you work through there, so that way we're not blocking driveways, and we want certainly to create an environment that's going to be conducive to being a good neighbor when it comes to traffic, and so a lot of consideration was given to that.
Okay. I know there were concerns when we had the open house back, I guess, in the winter. Slept since then. There was concern, about traffic
Sure.
and having accessibility to Lynn Garden Drive and those kinds of things. So we can assure our people in Lynn Garden that that's not going to be an issue.
The design of this and the timing of this was done in a way to mitigate some of those concerns. Again, to create a third lane, so you do have 2 lanes of traffic, and that becomes really, that extension creates the major, I would say, thoroughfare, for lack of a better way to say it, to the neighborhoods to the east and northeast, and so that becomes that main pathway, and having that third lane to stack outside of those travel lanes. Again, that design was done so that we wouldn't run into those kind of traffic issues.
When we are finished, we're going to be providing approximately 1,200 lineal feet of stacking area for the cars to be, obviously in the mornings and in the afternoons. So.
Will not impair the flow of traffic or the...
Absolutely, yes, that's correct. And a portion of that will actually be on the site, actually off of the roads entirely. So.
And in this agreement, if we enter into this, it is going to begin the process of designing the building itself. Which has not been. I'm sure that you've put forth some effort, but this supports that.
Yes. Can you go back? You had the floor plans up a moment ago. So as part of what David Fry was mentioning, we had worked through schematic design, and these schematic design floor plans were part of that original package. What we are going to be doing now is further developing these plans in the design, development, and construction document phases in order to get to the point where we can bid the project, yes.
Gotcha, I understand. And for this facility only, no other facility, there's no planning for any other facility or grounds?
This package also includes basically all the site work that is south of Walker Street. So anything south of Walker Street is included in this package.
South of Walker, which would be where your detention pond is going to be?
That is correct, yes. The new parking lot, that would be out in front, yes. That's correct. And all that is included in this.
Understood. Okay.
Walker Street, the one right in the middle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. One more.
That one.
So you're talking about below?
Yes, so you see.
Like 7, 8 o'clock, like below that parking lot. That's the new parking.
So you see the road that's running across at the top. That's Walker Street. Everything south of that is considered part of this package.
Okay. So nothing on the upper side?
Other than some paving and that sort of stuff, yes.
And again, that detention pond, that's regulated by the state.
That is regulated by TDEC, that is correct. Yes.
Okay.
That's in the lower left-hand corner?
That is in the, yes, sir, that's correct.
Giant wasted space.
You said that there's a walking.
There will be
the line around
walking,
is a
yes, there will be a
path.
walking track around it.
So-
There's also, safety measures have been put in place for that, you know, having students there and everything.
There's fencing around it, that sort of stuff, yes,
So just for the listening audience,
yes.
that has been taken into consideration. We're just not going to have a diving contest out there in the retaining pond. Okay, great. It's very exciting.
Any other questions, discussions, anything to add? No? All right. The recommended action is to enter into an agreement with Thomas & Litton for a lump sum fee of $2,265 for for professional, architectural, and engineering services to provide the design, development, construction documents, bidding assistance, and construction administration for Phase 3 of the new elementary school in Lynn Garden. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
Good. Motion carries. Mr. Fry? Thank you, Mr. Alderson. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So the next item, y'all stay for this one too. Mr. Alderson is the architect on this project. This is to the approval of the change orders for Dobyns-Bennett renovation. We talked about this a second ago. So the current contract with Construction Partners is for $2,901,801. We are recommending that we do a change to this agreement to add alternate number 1 in the amount of $236,000, which is the renovation of the old office area. Alternate 2 for $160,000, which is the demolition and new work associated with the construction of the existing building connector where the fire shutter replacements. And alternate 9A for $106,000, which is the technology wiring to the new classrooms and associated spaces on the second floor east wing or the annex pod. That's the addition of this $502,000 will bring the new contract to $3,403,801. We'd recommend approval of these three items to increase the contract by $502,000 and to increase the contingency by $30,120.
Okay. Any questions? No. The recommended action is to approve an issuance of a change order to the agreement with Construction Partners in the amount of $502,000 and an increase of the 6% contingency by $30,120. Is there a motion to accept?
Second.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Fry.
Thank you.
Mr. Alderson, thank you very much. Dr. True.
Thank you for the opportunity to kind of dive in. I think we had some thoughts when this legislative year began that this might be a little more of a quiet year when it came to education law. The fact that I currently have 34 needed policy recommendations and would expect more in the coming months might lend you to think maybe it did not turn out to be that way. But we do have quite a few and really, again, have tried to segment these out and knowing that because we have not had a chance to really get too many of them yet over the summer, taking advantage of the opportunity tonight to kind of lay out kind of where we are, give you a preview of some to go ahead and get it in the stack, knowing, again, 34 are not going to come quickly or easily, but just some of the higher priority ones to go ahead and have the conversation while we had an opportunity at our July meeting. So we'll get back in our normal process as we get into work sessions, but appreciate the opportunity to share some with you. I have some folks with me again that may, if you have additional questions about some of these things that I may not have direct knowledge with, but it's in their workspace, so I may call on some other folks to come in. But for you tonight, we have gone ahead and had 7 policies to review. Again, these are ones we have kind of prioritized to think that they need to be done sooner rather than later. And as always with most all of our policies, these are done based on changes to law or State Board of Ed policy that really require us to make adjustments to what we currently have on the books. So trying to take a bite out of that 34 policy elephant here early on as much as we can. Feel free to stop me with questions along the way, as always. 1.403 agendas. This is the law now that they have put an hour number on when agendas have to be finalized before meetings. It's now 48 hours. So our policy had previously read 5 days before an agenda would be distributed to board members. The recommendation on the model policy is that we wouldn't necessarily change that. We would call that a draft agenda. And generally, with a Tuesday night meeting, we have those out normally by Thursday or Friday, generally is when Vivian gets those put out. But then that would be by law able to be changed really up until that 48-hour mark where it would become the final agenda. And again, that 48 hours really is, again, now that's in code, is that the agenda, and by TSBA's interpretation, really all those supporting documents as well, because you all need obviously time to review and come prepared. So that's what the law says now. So we're changing 1.403 to reflect that. Draft agenda with our normal 5 days has been in the policy previously, and then a final agenda with supporting materials of 48 hours. 4.213 is family life education. This becomes really, to explain a little bit about this, in that there is a change in the law regarding instruction related to child trafficking. Previously, that was in our policy and in the model policy for family life education. The new law says it needs to be taught as a component of health education. And so there is no health education model policy, so it's a little counterintuitive that we're making a change to put a new section in the family life instruction policy. But you can see on here what we've basically done. There are 10 components per policy of family life instruction. We've taken out in component number 6, which is, it mentioned human trafficking, and now it has its own section that says that will be delivered, again, the law states, in an age-appropriate and grade-appropriate manner in the health education curriculum. And so that's really a change to that.
I'm just curious what that looks like to a kindergartner.
That is a question that we have begun to ask and are beginning really to work through from a development standpoint. Our curriculum folks are working on that, as well as what that needs to look like, who needs to be involved in those, and that plan is currently being developed right now so that it is age appropriate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Family life doesn't begin until 5th grade, right?
5th grade, yeah.
But health,
5th grade,
health
right?
education.
5th grade for family life, correct? Am I right on that? 4th grade, Rhonda says.
So is this a change to family life education, or is this a change to health education?
It's being pulled out of family life and being put in health ed. And the law says it has to be in health ed from K-12.
Love when the state does this.
And that's, again, I think we found there are a couple of things in law changes and new laws that it is pretty prescribed as far as who's teaching it in this particular case and in what grade levels.
In some cases, on what day?
Correct.
Can I back up just a
Yes,
minute?
sir.
I was reading ahead and I forgot to ask, during the agendas it says minor changes. What's a minor change? Under agendas 1.403, right above that? I forgot to ask.
The interpretation of minor changes can be made at more meetings. If you have things in your policy that allows you to make revisions, for instance, I'm trying to think of what examples of that could be. The length of time for an item, you can make minor changes to the agenda. It's I think wanting certainly to provide the intent. My impression of the intent of the law is it provides boards time to prepare, but also the public time to be aware of what's going to be on the agenda. So they would trying to avoid having large shifts in an agenda item or adding things to the agenda at the last minute that the public doesn't have an opportunity to absorb.
Okay.
4.215, instructional use of digital devices. This would be a new policy, which is, again, why we wanted to get you word on this and a chance to look at this, because it'll take 2 readings for a new policy per our process. If you followed this as it went through the legislature, it had a kind of a long and winding road as far as what was going to be included in it, how restrictive it was going to be, what grade levels it was going to fall under. As the law actually was passed, my interpretation, there are really 3 different components to this. One is that, and again, the policy reflects this, is that teacher-led instruction is the primary mode of instruction in K-5 classrooms. And that when digital devices are used, there needs to be a clear, this is in the law, a clear educational benefit, including for remediation. And so this will be something, again, with, with Dr. Flora and the work that she does and working with administrators and with teachers to be able to ensure that what we are doing in our classrooms, as typically is the case now anyway, we really don't rely on a lot of high-level, high-volume technology, but it is purposeful and it is aligned with the policy in our curriculum. The second piece, again, which is kind of a box check for us already, social media use in K-5 is prohibited. That's certainly already the case for us. And then also working with administrators, there's a component in the law that of transparency between schools and parents. And so working on what that should look like when it comes to communicating with families as far as technology that's being used and why it's being used.
I would not be opposed to the prohibition of social media K through 8. I'd be fine to amend this.
I'm looking there. Social media prohibition K through, he was asking about K through 8. Our filtering currently,
we block social media category for all grades.
K-12.
K-12.
Social media is a category blocked K-12 by our filters.
Okay, cool.
So we're
Thank you.
So that's 4.215, again, new policy that would take 2 readings.
Excuse me, Dr.
Yes, ma'am.
True. I don't see it specifically spelled out. You said 3 prongs to it: prioritizing teacher-led instruction, social media prohibited K-5, and what was the other one?
Communicating with families,
Oh, yeah,
providing
yeah.
transparency to families about what's being used and how it's being used in the classroom, the purpose.
I'd just take a second to say, I've been involved in a couple of meetings with volleyball teams, other things, et cetera, and the staff, faculty is doing an excellent job of promoting Parent Square, explaining why the changes. It's obviously a change that, nobody likes change really, especially when something's working. But whenever they understand the motive behind what we did, they're really doing a good job.
Thank you. That's great feedback. Take the opportunity to compliment Mary Beth Kench, who has led that effort really at the district level. She's done a lot of tech support over the last few weeks, and especially now as we roll out to families. She's been neck deep in that and doing a fantastic job with that, so I want to compliment her.
And I just ask that parents and students and coaches and educators, everybody be patient with that, because it is new. And even if it's fantastic, it's different. It's something new. And so I guess we should pray for Mary Beth to have patience as well, because I'm sure that she has been inundated, and it's just getting started, with school cranking up. But I do think it's important that our coaches and educators really try to explain why we're doing this for protection of all people involved, not just the kids, but the parents and educators as well.
Absolutely.
And it will be challenging. I guarantee. I haven't tried it yet, but I guarantee it'll be challenging. But it's worth it, in the long haul.
5.302 and 5.303, it's our sick leave policy and our personal and professional leave policy, really kind of go together when it comes to what has been done at the state level. Best way I can explain this is, and then probably the simplest way, is that there is, by now state code, time being shifted away from sick leave and put in personal leave, with the intent of that of having more flexibility for staff in how they use leave. So traditionally for our teachers, for instance, we have provided 10 sick days, and there's 2 state-provided personal days, and then 1 additional day provided by the board. So a total of 13 days for our teachers, 10 sick, 3 personal. What this does, it shifts 2 of those sick leave into personal, so it's 8 and 5. And then, again, so the board would provide the 1 day, and the state provides 4 days of personal leave. That's really, it has to be dealt with in 2 separate policies, but that's really the gist of what has been done. Again, the intent of that to provide more flexibility for staff in how they use their time.
I may have missed it in the writing. I don't think I did. Can you tell me how many days is staff able to bank? Like
sick leave?
Roll over year after year?
Sick leave is unlimited, and from a personal day standpoint, again, the 2 days of state-provided leave would roll to sick. The additional day of sick provided by the board does not. So theoretically, a staff member could, if they didn't take any sick days, at the end of the year, they would roll 12, the 10 that they didn't take, and then the 2. And again, sick leave just goes, there's not a limit, a cap on it.
It just keeps rolling.
Correct. Now, under this, again, because the board provides 1 day, the board provided day does not roll over. It's just the state provided days. So still the same 12 as they had before that would roll in if they weren't taken. It's just how they're categorized. Interference and disruption of school activities, that's 6.306. That is a new law. In some ways, as we've looked through this, it kind of mirrors the law that went into effect last year, where schools are required to notify families if there is a significant disruption, if there's a threat. That's kind of, we report that to you quarterly. I think we had 6 of those last year. This is if a classroom has to be evacuated due to the behavior situation. So if there's a scenario where for the safety of the children in the classroom, they have to be evacuated, there's now a requirement that the parents of the students in that classroom that day receive notification from the school that occurred. Yeah, and a brief description of why, certainly not revealing confidential information, identifiable information, and that sort of thing, but just that parents would have notification that if their child had to be evacuated out of a classroom because of a situation.
Kids already told their parents when they came home anyway.
Does this include our special education classrooms, especially those that are behavioral focused or have a significant number of behavioral students in them? It feels like that would be a regular phone call.
There is a note in the law that you can't disclose information about the student's conduct cause the disruption if the disclosure would violate FERPA or any other relevant privacy law. There really isn't anything that I'm aware of that would opt out any kind of like a special ed class from the requirement of the law. It's just the notification can't identify who the child is. But we would not, the law doesn't allow you to not notify if it's in a SPED class, if that makes sense.
A classroom or
instructional area. Right.
Pretty broad definition.
I just know from my special ed classroom, I had significant behavioral challenges, and we evacuated on a weekly basis. I just feel like I guess the parents would just get used to that phone call.
I think also it allows for a level of transparency. Certainly, I think that was the intent of the law, and just for clarity on what's occurring in the classroom, that parents have a right to understand that.
In those comprehensive classrooms, we often have additional adult support that would allow us to remove the student as opposed to evacuate the classroom. And those procedures and processes are readily in place already. And so we interestingly rarely have to evacuate those types of classes. Though it can happen, it is much more rare than what we might have in a push-in situation or even a non-special education situation where that will result in a classroom evacuation.
We have been working with administration, with Mr. Nash, processes and protocols on how that's tracked, how that's recorded, providing support to schools and what that communication can look like. So that way, there's a level of consistency and ability to support. Really.
This is actually very helpful to us in many ways, because otherwise we may or may not know the prevalence of this type of activity in a particular school. If a principal or a teacher didn't make us aware, then we wouldn't know. And the processes that are being put in place will allow for automatic notification to 6 different individuals at this office, and we will be able to track per classroom, per teacher, per school, what the number of evacuations we're having, so that we can push in support to those areas to make sure that our teachers are adequately supported and not having to compromise learning time due to those types of behaviors.
Would they use their badges for this? Is that something that they would
They could.
use their badges
As far as a notification, we've told staff members that they should not hesitate to use their badge should they need assistance in any way. And so certainly if there was a situation where, they needed assistance with a behavioral situation, that absolutely could happen.
In the event of something taking place, because you said in any environment, right? So it could be an auditorium that gets, if we don't know all the kids that are in there, does it just go out as a blast to everybody in the school?
Certainly we would do our due diligence to include everybody that we would be able to identify.
So it just, okay.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. True.
I got one more.
Oh, really? Oh, we
Sorry.
did.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And I will, from the get-go on this one, 6.4053, outside applied behavior analysis therapy. This is a new policy, and in having some, as new as this is, I would say, incomplete when it comes to a full procedure plan for how this will work, and why we went ahead to bring it to you, knowing that that's still in process. The first vote on this would happen at the August meeting. The second vote on this to make it a policy would happen at the September meeting. I know Dr. Cinnamon and his group has been really working through this as far as to provide additional supporting information. We wanted to go ahead, knowing that it was going to take 2 readings, and really ask if we could present this to you tonight just as a discussion. We'll get you more information on this. But the gist of this policy is that boards are required to adopt a policy regarding outside applied behavior analysis therapy, and how that private pay provider has access to the school with an MOU. What that process looks like, what the MOU looks like. This is the model policy. We're, again, still working through this, and we'll continue to provide you more information on this. But because we need to have 2 readings of this, we can certainly bring more information to you at the August meeting, at the July work session, if you like, as we continue to do this. But I wanted to go ahead and get this in front of you now, so that way it didn't lag another month before it was actually adopted.
That's a question I have about, especially these new policies. We're really crunched to try to get these passed and in place before school starts. So I know we have the ability, though we don't use it very often, to pass a new policy on 1 reading. I mean, is that something that we need to look at?
I understand why we have 2.
Yeah.
And the purpose for that, I think that's why we try to prioritize and stack these in a way. There are several policies that we're going to have to deal with, but they are not necessarily ones that we needed to do right now. They could wait.
Right.
So we always try to push these forward.
I mean, are there any that we wouldn't be in compliance with the law? I mean, if it's already been passed signed by the governor
I
or
mean,
whatever?
there are some, we've looked at some that went into law on July 1 that we need to have procedures in place by August 1. And so that creates not necessarily a policy in place, but that creates, I think, for all school boards, a challenge to be able to adopt, especially in the summer months. I don't know if I necessarily see any reason why we would need to make a wholesale change at this point. I think we certainly need to probably monitor when there are quick turnarounds for some things that we need to do.
I just mean specifically for any of these.
I don't see anything here that would suggest that we would. Yeah.
I had a question about the ABA. When it says private pay, that means that the parents are paying for the service, the ABA service, and then those service providers are then coming into the school? Or is the school contracting with these outside services and bringing the services in? Is the school paying or the parent paying?
I'm going to watch me pass the buck to Dr. Cinnamon, who is a little more learned in this than I am.
So it depends on if it's in the IEP as part of the service, and we would obviously be owning the cost of the service. In this new requirement, a parent can request that, but it has to meet certain criteria. And then we've developed with some guidance, a model procedure that we're going to run through. Next week, we have some guidance proposed from the state we're going to hear about, which will refine the procedure. But the parents in that scenario would ask for pay because they're seeking that support. It may not necessarily be in the IEP.
So would it make sense to have trained staff that are just ABA providers so that we don't have to, because it just seems like financially it would be better to have some of our IAs trained in ABA because it doesn't require a college education or anything like that. It's just a certificate as opposed to contracting out these private companies.
We do have some staff, some of our behavior support specialists are. And in fact, in order for the private pay provider, they still have to be supervised by one of our BCBAs. And so they would still have a governance on our end as to what kind of services are being provided. And that would all go in the MOU and the contractual side of that.
And last question, these therapists would come into the schools. We would not, like students would not go out during the school day to the private facility,
I think in most cases they would come into the school setting because we wanted that to generalize to the school setting. There could, however, be a circumstance where that's required outside of the school that we would obviously come to an agreement with the family about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr.
Okay,
Tree.
thank you very much.
That was the last one. Thank you. Dr. Hampton?
When the summer has flown by, I would like to acknowledge the hard work on the part of our summer staff, not only at the district office, but especially at the school office, just as we're getting ready for, all the things we do in a school to get ready for a new school year, but especially the human resource side, the interviews, the hiring, the scheduling, all of those things. People have worked very hard all summer to do that well, and I feel like we very much have. Most of our, and we'll get you these final numbers when we have final numbers, but we have narrowed our open positions down significantly. We've spent quite a bit of time doing that over the course of the summer and are tracking towards starting the school year fully staffed. I knock on wood that will happen in the next 3 weeks. Also want to shout out to district level administrators, school level administrators for their participation in our district-wide administrative retreat last week. That is 3 days of pretty intense all-day, all things educational planning. And 1 day of that is really invested into the nuts and bolts, policies, procedures, laws. Mr. Rowlett came and spent about 2 hours or so with us going over all of these laws and, what the integration of those into the school setting might look like or will look like. And then the remaining 2 days is focused exclusively on looking at the preliminary data that we've received thus far, and then completing our school administrative teams getting started on their school improvement planning for the coming year. We have already submitted a district plan to the Department of Ed. It had been approved, stamped as excellent, and that's what the school plans have to be based from. And so, the goals at the district have to resonate down to the school level. And so we were able to get a very good start on that work, and we gave those who participated a survey, gave them an opportunity to provide some feedback, and we're already looking at some possible adjustments for what those 3 days will look like next school year. I find those 3 days to be essential to getting the school year started off on the right track. I've shared information over the past couple of weeks with with the board regarding our preliminary data. This is another opportunity just to celebrate the work of teachers and the hard work of students that has revealed itself through another year of excellent data. I would say that, or it will be for the third year in a row, what I would say is our best data ever. So, but that is who we are. It's the process of continual improvement, not being satisfied, raising the bar, and supporting the learning of all students. And that has been embraced, that philosophy has been embraced in all of our schools by our staff, and we're seeing those levels of improvement. When things are officially released, the grades, the growth, the achievement status, all of the federal designations, of course, we will make that available to the board and the public, and feel like there are going to be some really exciting announcements in the coming weeks and months. I'll comment briefly on the fast growth money. Again, that was I don't know when that email came in. I discovered it about midnight 2 Thursdays ago and forwarded it to Mr. Fry because I thought I must be reading this incorrectly. But one thing that we've noticed from that, while our overall student enrollment didn't improve by 1.5%, we are one of the few districts in the state to have seen an increase in enrollment. And we've seen terrible examples across the state of school systems and school boards of education having to slash positions because they're having to slash budgets. And you probably have heard about Knox County specifically because they've had monumental cuts to make. But you could almost throw a stone and affect school systems in close proximity to Kingsport who have had to make those same decisions. And we're very fortunate that our community continues to trust the work that we're doing and the products that are a result of the hard work of teachers and students. So very, very pleased with that, even though that wasn't a full 1.5% growth, it was much smaller than that. It was a growth. And so very pleased with that information. We will have a group, so I don't want to spoil it too much. We're going to invite an employee and a few of our students to come to next month's board meeting to be recognized for their participation in the National Special Olympics that were held in Minnesota last month. Anthony Walker, who's an employee in our school system, a former student of our school system, Hunter Barr, Emma Brickey, Ellie Stokes, and Reed Riggins all represented Kingsport City Schools in the city of Kingsport and the state of Tennessee at the National Special Olympics, bringing home a variety of medals. We will leave that as the teaser and talk about some of the types of medals and perhaps some records national records that were broken a couple of weeks ago. So that is very exciting. I specifically want to thank Coach Sarah Good, who accompanied the group to Minnesota. It was a long trip. I think it was a 9-day trip. That's a long time to be on a trip. But Sarah had shared with me that it was the best experience of her professional life. They only allow one coach to go. We tried very hard to pay for our second coach to go just for the assistance with supervision. They would not allow it. But Michael Holt also helped significantly with that group. So shout out to Michael as well. Some important dates as we wrap up. Our new teachers arrive March 21st, which is, by the way, next week. That is when Dr. Cinnamon, I kept saying March 21st in a meeting earlier today, and he said, "You mean next week?" And it just didn't seem, oh yeah, that is next week. Yes, so new teachers will arrive next week. 3/27 will be, March 27 will be, all of our employees will be back. The 28th will be our district-wide convocation. And then August the 3rd, we will kick off the 26-27 edition of Kingsport City Schools. So it has been a fast and furious summer, an exciting summer in many ways. And from staffing to facilities to budgeting in many respects, it is an exciting time. Last thing I'll say is to encourage those who are listening to do their civic duties when early voting opens up Friday of this week. Please make sure that your voices are heard and you take the time to educate yourselves on candidates, not only for, of course, we have our Board of Education that's up, that is part, the board will be on the ballot, as well as the county commission and the city municipal offices, mayor and board of mayor and aldermen. So just encourage people to do their civic duty and let their voices be heard.
Would you mind to speak just briefly about the visit from the education secretary, I guess, the state
Yes,
for our summer school?
We did. We had the opportunity to receive a visit from the Department of Education, and particularly the Commissioner of Education and some of her staffers. And I think they were here somewhere there about the 21st, maybe the 17th of June. They came and visited. Johnson was a school that was selected to be visited. They came in and observed one of our ELA classrooms. The feedback was very positive and very warm. They had an opportunity not just to come and meet with the leadership of our summer programming, not just with myself, but they had an opportunity to interact with the teachers and sit down and have some conversations with the students who were working. And it was quite interesting because children don't know. I mean, they didn't know who the superintendent was. They certainly didn't know who the commissioner of education was, and they just kept working. And kids say the darndest things. Have you heard that before? And so, that was one of the pieces of feedback that we received that the commissioner shared with me was that, it was just business as usual. The fact that we interrupted their classroom with 10 adults. And they didn't skip a beat. Their teachers and instructional assistants didn't skip a beat. And they were very complimentary to the type of work that was going on and the level of differentiated support that students were receiving. It wasn't a one-size-fits-all. So it was, and I'm not surprised. They could have gone to any of our schools and they would have had a good experience. And that's, hats off to the summer school leadership and the staff who pulled off that work. I appreciate you bringing that up and giving us an opportunity to thank the commissioner and the Department of Ed for coming and having a level of interest in the work that was going on. And really part of that was assessing the value of summer learning. Is that a valuable investment that the state is making? And I can assure them that in Kingsport it is a very valuable investment and one that we hope continues.
Thank you, Dr. Hampton. I looked at that list of employment changes, hires. Somebody's been working. I mean, Ms. Guthrie, all the staff, the interviews.
Just putting the list together was some work.
Right. So, thank you very much. Just some dates of interest coming up over the next couple of months. Some of us will be traveling this weekend to the Summer Law Institute to learn about more of this legislation and future legislation. Our work session for July will be on the 28th. Our August regular business meeting will be on the 11th, and then our August work session on the 25th. So, all right. We're adjourned.